This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Leaving out the avocado in your salad to save money is not good for morale or your fiber intake. Luckily, State Farm knows the value of the little things. It's why they've got options like insuring your home and ride with surprisingly great rates on both. Because you shouldn't have to give up what you love for great insurance. For surprisingly great rates, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or go to statefarm.com for a quote today.
Empire.
Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Conn Report wherever you get your podcast. And you know the drill. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're not watching us on YouTube, but you want to, go to Empire Media. That's AMPIRE. It would be much appreciated. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest, former Washington Redskins tight end, Niles Paul. He played for their organization from 2011 to 2017, and I wanted to get his thoughts to see where he was at in retirement, what he's doing now. I asked him about who some of his favorite teammates were, where he got that toughness, etc. But we also talked about something else he's had to deal with since retiring, and that's depression. It's no joke, folks. I appreciate Niles opening up. I always like this guy, and I tell him, I even share a memory from the start about a block he made, and it's what I use as an example for my son as how you need to block if you're playing. If someone says this is how you need to block, this is the example. But I really appreciate Niles opening up, and it's one reason why I wanted to talk to him, because I know he had gone through some things. I think it's important to hear what people go through. And all that, and also what he's doing now. And I think it sounds like Niles in a good place. And so I hope you're able to listen. And if you want to follow him on Twitter, go to @NilesP_, and you can find him on Instagram at the same address. You can read my work on ESPN.com. And as another reminder, I am still on vacation. So if there is news and you want my reaction, you're going to have to wait. With that, let's get to my conversation with former Washington Redskins tight end, Niles Paul. Niles, it's really good to see you, and I'm happy you're doing this. But I also want to let you know that I remember one time, I don't know if you remember this play, but I'm going to start with this because I love this play. You were a rookie receiver back when you were playing receiver. And there was one game where you blocked a guy and it was like 15 yards, and you drove him out of bounds. I remember watching the game again and again and again. I bring my son in. I'm like, because he was playing youth football at the time. I'm like, when people tell you to block somebody, this is what they're talking about. And I always love that about you. I have no clue if you even remember the play or anything like that. But that was something that I was like, wow, this dude really wants to be out there.
You might be talking about against when we played the Carolina Panthers, and because I remember that play, and Coach Shanahan came to me, and those are the kind of things that he expected out of me, and what my teammates expected out of me at that point. I was just trying to get on the field.
Yeah, well, it was something. But like I said, I use it as an example for my son. I called him into the room to say that, just to show that. And it was something I always appreciated about your game. And just to me, it always showed the hunger and the desire that you had to be out there. And is that not every receiver wanted to block. Not every guy wants to block, but is that an example of a guy who just got that desire?
Yeah. I was kind of just being at Nebraska and how we were trained as receivers. We were taught to block. Coach Ted Gilmore had us blocking every day. So, that was nothing to me out there. That was easy, blocking those guys. So let's start with what you're doing now. And, you're coaching out in Omaha, but what's going on with you right now? Right now, I'm working with a nonprofit organization that's out here in Omaha, and they're building a facility that I'm excited to be a part of. And right now, just started helping out and being an assistant, one of the offensive assistant coaches at my old high school, and I'm putting my time into that and just kind of trying to figure out what kind of coach I want to be, and that's what I've been doing in the last couple of months, and then kind of figure out my niche and all that.
What kind of coach do you like? What are you coaching now? And do you want to go beyond this? Or I know a lot of guys like sticking with high school, you did your thing in the NFL and they like just coaching there, but what's your goal with this? Do you have one in mind yet?
Not really. Right now, I'm keeping it real short term and just trying to figure out and get a feel as for my passion for this side of the football of the game, because I do have a passion for the game, but coaching is a completely different aspect. So, I'm not limiting myself to, the possibilities, but I just want to kind of, that's why I could have became a head coach or in a prominent position somewhere, but I just wanted to kind of work my way through the system, and since I've never been a coach before, and start where I originally started at.
Do you enjoy it?
I do enjoy it. It's a breath of fresh air, especially considering when being away from the game for so long and retiring, and just kind of finding your way back on the field and getting those emotions again while you're out there. It's a great feeling.
What have you missed about football? What did you miss that you wanted to get back?
The camaraderie. It's just like within the team. It's the atmosphere you establish. It's the relationships you build throughout a season. It's that feeling, that when you put in all the work and it's paying off. Like, I miss all the little details, when it comes to football, especially being in that locker room with the fellas.
What do you remember when you look back on your career? What sticks out to you? Like, what do you think about when you look back on it?
I think to me, what sticks out is I never expected myself to be so versatile in the league. I never in a million years thought I would, start start at fullbacks in games, and that you would have told me that in high school, I'd have laughed at you because I thought I was the man and I was one of the best receivers, and that's to me. I thought I was one of the best receivers in the world. So, being able to kind of humble myself and make things like my career, as far as it went from being about me to being about the team. I think that was the one thing that stuck out to me, is that I was willing, when I got to Washington, I was willing to do whatever it takes for my team. And that was kind of different from, high school me or college me.
Was it hard to switch positions, not just physically, but mentally? Was it hard?
I think mentally it was probably the hardest part, because it's a different game. It's a different feel. It's a different, it's different ways to run routes. It's got to be, it's different ways to get off releases now. When you've been playing receiver all your life and you're used to it a certain way, and things get condensed a little bit more, and now it's a little more physical game. You have to be a different type of person or a different type of football player to make that, to kind of go through that transition. And it wasn't an easy process. It took me, I would say, a year. My first year, I feel like I struggled playing inside, holding my blocks, or just reading my blocks and understanding the assignments, because that was just what I'm a wide receiver, so it was like.
Right.
But once I think Coach Wes Phillips and Sean McVay did and having guys like Chris Cooley, Vernon Davis, and Chris and Fred Davis all in there in the room and stuff like that. That really helped and benefited me. Plus, I was already a physical guy anyway, so.
But you also, like, when you make that switch, again, you talk about coming up being a receiver and all that. You're basically telling yourself, like, I don't know that they're asking you, like, can you make it here? And maybe you won't make it at this position that you've always played. Now you got to play this. Was it hard to move past the, wait a minute, I'm a receiver versus I want to last in this league?
Like I said, it's a humbling experience, because in my head, when Coach Shanahan asked me, it was the summer, I was training to be a receiver. I was training with receivers. I felt good. Thought I had a good rookie year. And then, Coach pulls me aside, and he was there's one thing I always respected about Coach Shanahan. He was very forefront and straight. He was just straight about it. It was like, hey, we want you to move here. We got a lot going on, a lot of receivers coming in. We want you on the team, but we think you'd be a better tight end than receiver. And part of me is like, what y'all want me to block? Y'all just want me to block? And, he kind of, Coach Shanahan had introduced me to Shannon Sharp, and we had all went out to eat, and I got to pick his brain a little bit because he he's one of the greatest to do it. And so just getting an understanding and being able to pick the brains, I think it was humbling, but I was in the moment. I was able to foresee my future in the NFL at this position if I got the nuances of it down right.
There was also, I remember at the time hearing, and this was a rumor, never reported, but did they also ask you if you wanted to be a safety or a tight end, or is it just always tight end?
Yeah, no, he said, hey, Coach Shannon asked me, would you want to play safety or would you want to move tight end? And I was like, Coach Shannon, I'm an offensive guy. I don't think I can play safety in the league. Obviously my dad wanted me to play safety, but I just was like, I think these guys have been playing safety, there's some safeties in the league that have been playing all their life. I don't want to transition that big to a defensive role.
Right. That would have been a tough one. So that wasn't a hard call for you then.
No, it wasn't, because I wanted the opportunity to make plays and catch. I had always been that type of guy. Like, I wanted to catch the ball. I wanted to make plays. Like,
how much do you look back on your injury? Because I think it was 2015. You're going to be the starter, and that first game in the preseason, you fractured your ankle. And I remember one thing I remember about this, Niles, is just like, I don't think I've ever talked to a teammate who was in tears until then, talking about that when Darrell Young talked about your injury and what it meant, how much it hurt them. But how much do you look back on that at all? Do you? And just like, hey, that was going to be a really good opportunity for you.
Oh man, I hate to live in the past like that, but I really, that year I felt it. I think everybody felt it in camp. Everybody felt it throughout, OTAs, that I was going to do something special. And, how things played out, Coach McVay asked me, like, pretty much, I wasn't even going to play in the first preseason game, but, I was hurting my shoulder. Coach McVay asked me, and he was like, please, we got to show them, our offense. He's like, we're going to get you in there 5-6 snaps, get you out. I want to show them what you're capable of. I was like, okay, cool. That was like supposed to be my coming out year. And, even though I was happy that Jay Reed came out that year, like he really had quite the year, I was like, dang, part of me was like, that could have been my year. It could have been my year, So it was hard. It was another hard pill to swallow. And then, coming back, having, Vernon Davis come to the team and then telling me that they were going to move me more to fullback. It was, it was humbling. It was hard. And I just felt like, damn, like that was my opportunity. And I missed it, because that's how the NFL works, though,
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of guys play through injuries or try to, overcome certain things and not, be too vocal about it. But that wasn't something I could play through,
And then you got the Ed Block Courage Award the next year. What did that mean to you?
At first, I didn't really understand it. Throughout the years, but actually, once I realized that I was up for it, or that I had a chance to get it, it was kind of like my motivation. And drove me to, like, put in the extra time and rehab and show up and just do extra things, and was really pushing myself to get through this injury and make it back on this team.
When you retired, you talked about your body, mentally you could still play, but your body was just starting to catch up to you a little bit. How are you physically now?
As good as a 32-year-old man who's played the positions I've played in the league, I wake up and, there's different things. You find out different things over the year. As far as like my ankle, I'm gonna have to, really consider what I'm gonna have to do about my ankle the older I get in the next few years, and my shoulder and things like that, and dealing with issues from my concussion. So it's just, it's a lot of wear and tear, and as football players, you're bred to be tough, and then when it's over, and it's important that you try not to be so tough and try to really, like, do the things necessary to keep yourself on track, because it's not easy, and like it's painful. I'm not like, some days it becomes hard to walk for me, or my ankle swells up, or some days I'm just having a bad day, or I'm dealing with depression or something like that. or having like bad headaches or something. So it's a day-to-day thing, and it's like the NFL does a great job in having programs available to former players to help us through a lot of these times.
And I was going to ask you about that too, because I've seen you talking about fighting demons and all that, depression. What's it been like for you? And what's that been like for you? And do you think that stems from some of these injuries, or just, or getting used to not playing? Where is that? What do you think?
My battle with depression actually started when I was in the league.
Okay.
It was I think after my ankle surgery is when I really I started seeing a therapist, and they put me on antidepressants and stuff like that. So it's been a journey, and for somebody who clinically depressed and doing things, taking the steps necessary, and trying to stay above float. It's been a journey for me, and it's been hard, but I think I have a great support system behind me, and they make sure I'm always in a good headspace, and that's part of the reason why I kind of moved back to Nebraska.
And so the support system, is that more family? Is that?
Yeah, my family's here. I was born and raised here. This is where my support system is at. I have 6 brothers and 6 sisters, and most of them are here. So I enjoy being home.
And that helps you a lot?
Yeah. It kind of, they keep you on my toes. And like, I was down in Jacksonville. I stayed there for, even though I played there for a year, I ended up staying there 3 more years after that, down there 4 or 5 years. And I got content with just being, in this house by myself. And I didn't really have too much family around, but maybe my brother. So it was like a transition coming back home, just to be around more, and because I'll disappear and be content in my own ways, and nobody will really know how bad I'm struggling, or if I'm struggling at all.
Guys, are you looking for that extra confidence when it's time to have fun? Let me tell you about BlueChew.com. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. Blue Chew's tablets help men combat all forms of ED. Blue Chew is also an online prescription service, so no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. And it ships right to your door in a discreet package. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. And the best part, all done online. Blue Chew's tablets, made in the United States, and they prepare and ship direct, so it's cheaper than a pharmacy. And here's a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code KEIM at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code KEIM, K-E-I-M, to receive your first month free.
And that's a hard thing, because you're not the only one who deals with this too. So do you talk to other former players, or even just someone who didn't play? Do you talk to a lot of people about that?
I talk to, there is like a little, the NFL has a little program where, guys former players from all ages and ranges and all places can get on a group chat, and that's like a group chat, a group call, almost like a Zoom meeting that, everybody just kind of talks. Everybody has, it's like almost like a therapy session, like a group counseling session like that. And I see a therapist weekly. So I find those things really help me the most.
Good. I mean, I'm glad to hear that. I mean, when you have the concussion, and if you have that depression, I wonder, does it exacerbate the issue a little bit? Does it make it worse?
If you ask me, I would say yes, because I dealt with it, getting that nasty concussion in 2017. Yeah. I was out for a little bit, and I just, which is honestly a part of the reason why I felt like it was time for me to retire. Because it wasn't that I physically couldn't do it, because I felt physically like I could still play football. Even now, I feel like I can still go out there and play football. I was having issues remembering my plays. I was having issues understanding my assignments. The game was almost going too fast for me at this point. and I couldn't like keep up. So I just felt like, for my health and my future, that it was probably best that I shut it down. And even after, I was out with the I was out with the 49ers, and they had released me. I had an opportunity to go to Oakland. And I just told them, I was like, yeah, they released me. I felt like the 49ers released me. They released me for a reason. Even though I did feel like I was still playing through a pro level, it's just like I wasn't there. I wasn't the same. Kyle Shanahan had seen the different versions of me and seen the type of player I am, and I just wasn't that same aggressive, kind of like I was kind of terrified because I was getting hit and my head was aching, and it was like I'm worried about getting another concussion, and I'm worried about picking up the playbook, or if they're gonna notice that I'm struggling picking up the playbook, or I'm struggling in this. So it was just it was time. It was just time for me to hang it up.
Was it hard to accept that or easy to accept?
It was hard. I'm not gonna lie, I cried like a baby for like a week, and I tried to party it up. I think I came to DC and we went out and partied, and I went to Vegas, and it was just, after all was said and done, it kind of, you're just in a space where it's like you got to accept the reality of retirement, and like something that you grew up playing and that you love to play so much, it's over now. It's like
right.
There's other ways you're gonna have to, if you want to be a part of this game, there's other ways you have to contribute to it.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you too, what the hardest part is, because like for most of us, it's like you get to high school and then you're done, and that's where you're going to go, right? So what's the hardest thing to deal with for that transition for you when you retire?
As far as just
like what's the hardest part? The hardest part about it, yeah.
Hardest part about I think it's kind of swallowing that ego and accepting the fact that it's done and it's over. Like you really shouldn't be doing. I think that was a pill for me. That was a big pill for me to swallow, because I didn't want to retire, and to me, I felt like I was like, I'm gonna play 14 years, and even though you feel like you're prepared to retire whenever, and the NFL does a great job of preparing, like letting you know it could end whenever. You never, as an athlete, as a competitor, you're never in your head like, this is the last year I'm gonna play football. So the last time I took the field, it was hard for me to accept like that was the last time I had ever played. I think we played Dallas, we played the Cowboys. I was with the Jaguars, and I got hurt, and that was the last time I ever really took the field and played an NFL game. And I kind of it's sad that the hardest part was accepting that I couldn't really go out on my terms.
Do you like ever have dreams about playing again or anything like that? And it might sound silly, but I think anybody who's played seems to have those recurring dreams for a while. Do you ever have anything
Absolutely.
like that?
Absolutely. I have dreams about playing again. I have, little dreams about like, what if I go join this league over here and just to get in the good, and it's like, nah, I can't do that. It's not like, you gotta, when you wake up in the morning when I wake up after the dreams like that, like, oh, I can still do this, or feeling like, having a dream, I play ball, I wake up and I realize, woo, yeah, I can't do that no more. Like the reality sets in, and your body, you start to feel like everything, like, okay.
Do you still follow the NFL much? Do you follow what's going on in Washington at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I love the Commanders, man. I was actually supposed to be out there. I got sick for draft day. I was supposed to be out there for their draft day.
Oh. And so what do you think of the name?
I wasn't the biggest fan. I think I was pretty vocal. I wasn't the biggest fan of the name, but at this point, you got to accept it. I feel like it'll grow on everybody eventually. It's just fresh, yeah. I think kind of cheesy, but
yeah. I think they're going to have to win to make everybody kind of accept it a little bit more. So, what
absolutely.
So, do you follow them much? What do you think of like a guy like Carson Wentz? I'm sure you've seen him play a few times.
Yeah, I love Carson Wentz. I think that was a good addition. I think that especially for a team like Washington, who is in need of a quarterback, a quarterback that can get stuff done now. I think that'll be a good addition for Washington. So I saw a lot of fans kind of like, oh, not really happy about it. I'm like, this is a step in the right direction. I feel like I like Carson Wentz. I think he's a good culture guy to have around for the program.
Who's like, is there a teammate or two or three that you look back and say, I love playing with this guy because for whatever reason, like who are some of the favorite guys you played with?
Okay. Santana Moss,
Right.
just because Santana is a legend to me. Yeah. And I love playing. I love watching him play. I love learning from him and his attitude. Every time he's on the field, he would set the tone for our offense. He's great. He's great. Darrell Young, that was my boy. We were like the Bash brothers, so I love playing. I love playing with him and like playing alongside him and like taking the field. We just being out there with him. And then who is it? Lorenzo Alexander.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Even he wasn't like a good friend of mine, but I was a rookie. I had a loud mouth. I talked a lot, so he used to put me in my place a lot. So, but I love playing. I love taking the field with him, and like the way his ferociousness, and like he really set a tone for me, and like what it meant to be a special teams player, and that kind of like shifted my career in the right direction. I feel like.
How would he put you in your place?
I mean, he would just say little slick stuff that you talk to a rookie like, and like you got to kind of take it. You want to say something back, but this is like, all right. So, because he is the OG, he's the big dog, and you just got to let him have it.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have some, they're similar, like where you're able to just carve out a career, and he did the same thing. It's remarkable where he came from too. What about like the other thing is it's been 10 years since Robert Griffin III played there. What do you remember about that season with him and just the energy around the team and everything like that?
It was probably one of my favorite years of football ever.
Really?
When that year Griff came, I mean, the atmosphere in the stadium was electric. At Redskins Park, it was electric. It was just like we had something. It's like the football guys was blessing us every time we took the field because things was just fumbles was bouncing right into our hands. We was making it was plays happening where we would run something and like me and DY would cross block and we would both miss our block. We didn't block a soul, but it's a 40-yard game because they didn't know where it was coming. We was like, okay, it worked. So it was just like everything was like perfectly aligned that year. And it just when he got hurt, it kind of put a damper on the end of the season. But that was one of them years where that was one of my favorite years of playing football. It was like around the facility, everybody was just like, all right, we got something. We can do something here.
Well, especially because like in that playoff game, like how much do you look back and say, if he doesn't get hurt, like it's 14-0.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that was, he was obviously still playing a little hurt through that playoff game. He came into the playoff game a little hurt, but he was trying to play through it for us. But that's crazy to think about because we was on fire. We was on fire that year. At that point.
Yeah, and it's funny because that was the whole year was the first year where I know the zone read had been in there a little bit with Cam, but that year with he and Russell, but Robert especially. Did you enjoy the zone read?
That's what we were running when I said me and DY didn't block a soul.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a 40-yard game. You could miss blocks on zone read and still make the right block. It was when it first dropped. I feel like defenses have pretty much kind of figured it out for the most part now. But the way Rob ran it, the way we ran it, we didn't have any there wasn't any structure to like who we blocked. We were just kind of doing it. And it was a new offense for all of us, I feel like, and like especially on that scale, and it worked out, and we were making big plays off the zone read play action.
What do you like? You talked about earlier the electricity in the stands. What was that like for you guys that year? Because it's been a while since it's been like that.
it was, I mean, you actually look forward to playing in home games, man. You look forward to seeing the fans because you knew everybody was in there having your root for you. You knew you was gonna have a true home game. You knew like the city, like after after you go out there and play, the city was gonna be on fire for your team, for the Commanders, or I mean the Washington at the time.
Right. And is it hard for you to see where it's gone now, because they're having a hard time getting people to go to games, and a lot of times like half the stadium is for the opposing team or close to half? How much does that surprise you, and what do you think of that? I mean, is it hard to watch that as a former player from here?
I mean, I got to experience it a little bit. I feel like while I was there, because minus that season, we had some pretty bad years up there too. So it was some times when you could see, the fans were displeased with us, and I remember games being packed out with other fans, but never being like not being packed out. It was always gonna be packed out. I feel like. So I don't know what kind of climate it is now, but I just think that it was an easy fix to that is winning, and once they start winning again, and that shouldn't be an issue.
So
people will embrace the name and run with the playoffs.
Right. But so last thing here. So when you first came here on those coaching staffs, it's Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Matt LaFleur, Mike McDaniel. I mean, did you know what you guys had with that group? And are you, what do you think about where those guys are at now?
I tell people all the time, I'm like, nobody mentions like, did you say Coach Callahan? Sean Callahan? Not Sean Callahan, Bill Callahan.
Well, he came after that.
He came after, yeah.
Yes.
But I was just more so speaking about like, my time there.
Yeah, absolutely.
How many head coaches were like did we have? And,
yes.
Mike McDaniel, Sean McVay. We knew Sean was gonna be the head coach from day one. Like when he was a tight ends coach, I was like, Sean should be the head coach. To see Matt and Mike, and Mike was kind of like a goofball when he was a clown. Like he wasn't like a goofball, but he was like a clown. Like he joked around a lot. He played, and it didn't really seem like he wanted to even be a head coach. So to see his progress and his transition, especially when I got to the 49ers and where he had far here come, I'm like, oh, y'all had like y'all had the heat stored in there. Like y'all had the all-star team and coaches.
Yeah, I mean, it was something, because you said that with Sean, Jay was there. Was it, you went from Shanahan to Jay, was that hard, or what did you think?
Going from Shanahan to Jay Gruden?
Yeah.
No, because Coach Shanahan was strict. He was a strict coach. I want to say old school coach, but he still was a player's coach. Coach Gruden was a player's coach all the way, and I think he was still trying to figure out his niche as a quarterback. I mean, as a head coach, and figure out the relationships he had with the players, or to have with the players in itself, and how to run a team full of grown men. And I think I got to experience that with him, and I enjoyed him as a head coach. I know I did. He was a real players coach. Like the players loved him from Jay Gruden, but he had his issues too, but everybody does. And I came from Nebraska, so we went from Bill Callahan to Coach Pelini. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, that's right. So, well, Niles, man, it's been great catching up with you. I always, like I told you, I always enjoyed you as a player because I liked your story and I know what it meant to you to be out there. And the other thing is, like, we would do these little surveys, like, who's the toughest guy in the team? And it was always you, Pierre, and Trent.
Yeah.
The three of you guys. And most people would say you don't mess with Niles. So I think even those guys would say that because, just there was always a toughness. I mean, shoot, it was you guys got in the fight with the Texans. You're not on the field without your helmet in training camp. And Sean to come bring your helmet to you.
Yeah, it pushed me back in the fight. I would never forget that. So, I mean, that was the mentality I had. And how I played the game. So it was always, I wanted to bring that type of toughness to the field, and I wanted to carry it. I was proud to be, that was kind of like my thing. That was me. I wanted to be tough. I wanted people, every time I took that field, to respect me or to remember like, oh, A4, he's something, like he a handful.
Well, there you go. I think you accomplished that definitely, because I'm telling you, guys still talk about that. And I told you, I brought up that block. That was from your rookie year. And so I always appreciated your game. So I really enjoyed catching up with you, and thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you, man. Thank you. Nice catching up with you too, man.
Cool. And good luck with everything.
Thank you.
That's it for this episode. I really appreciate Niles joining me, and I appreciate you tuning in to listen. I'll be back with another episode on Monday. I'll talk to you next time.